In 1944, Indiana Jones was trying to get hold of a stolen artifact called the spear that supposedly had been used to pierce Jesus Christ during the crucifixion. While attempting to get the artifact, Indiana Jones was captured by the Nazis during the Allied liberation of Europe in World War II. Jürgen Wahler, an astrophysicist, reported to his superiors that he had discovered a very powerful artifact, called the Dial of Destiny, invented by the Sicilian mathematician Archimedes. This artifact had the capability to locate fissures in time. Jones managed to evade capture and boarded a train full of valuable antiques looted by the Nazis. After Professor Edward Johnston inspected the spear and found it to be a fake, he was able to get his hands on the dial which he was searching for. Before the train he was on could derail from passing over a bridge destroyed by Allied bombers, Professor Johnston managed to escape. Joined by his colleague Basil Shaw, a fellow archaeologist from Oxford, the two made their escape together. In August 1969, Jones was awoken in his Manhattan apartment by a young neighbor who was excitedly celebrating the return of the Apollo 11 astronauts from the moon. The neighbor was playing the first track of the Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour. It was then revealed that Jones and his wife Marion Ravenwood had separated. Jones then went to his university where his colleagues had prepared a surprise retirement party for him. Jones goes to a bar, feeling despondent, as New Yorkers gather for a parade to celebrate the astronauts. He is joined there by Helena Wombat Shaw, his goddaughter who he hasn't seen for almost 2 decades. She is a student in archaeology and an avid treasure hunter. Jones informed her that the dial, an ancient artifact, was divided into 3 sections. Basil, who was no longer living, had been trying to figure out how the dial worked, and it drove him to the point of insanity. When Basil passed away, Jones had to take care of the dial. Jones escapes a dangerous encounter in a university storeroom when he discovers the first third of the dial. Wahler, working for NASA, and a group associated with CIA agent Mason, attack Jones and his co-professors. One secretary and co-professor are killed in the process. Jones quickly flees the university and jumps onto a horse in the parade. He courageously dashes through the New York subway system before boarding a train to freedom. Indiana Jones has been falsely accused of murdering his colleagues and is now on the run. He seeks help from Sally, an immigrant living in New York with his family and working as a cab driver. Jones flies to Tangier, where Helena has taken the first part of the dial, intending to sell it at an auction in a bar. At the bar, he meets Teddy Kumar, before Wahler and his henchmen arrive. The trio of Wahler, Mason, and Ram all encounter an intense battle as they flee through the city on an auto rickshaw. After being captured by Mason, Wahler finds out that the US government has disavowed him for his actions. In a quick turn of events, Wahler and his men take control of the helicopter, killing Mason in the process, and navigate towards the Mediterranean Sea. Helena reluctantly agrees to listen to Jones and not sell the artifact, so the trio sets off to Greece to meet Ronaldo, an old friend of Jones who is an experienced deep-sea diver. Jones reveals to Helena that he and Marion had separated after the death of their son Mutt, who had chosen to enlist as a soldier in the Vietnam War. Together, they planned to use this newfound knowledge to bring the artifact to the surface safely. Jones' marriage was in trouble as his wife was grieving and he was unable to console her. Unable to make things work between them, she eventually left him and filed for divorce. Helena and Jones then went out on Ronaldo's boat to a spot in the Aegean Sea. Once they arrived, they had to contend with terrifying eels that Jones found especially startling due to their resemblance to snakes. In spite of this, they were able to retrieve the second part of the dial. Wahler and his goons arrived and killed Ronaldo. After they escaped, Jones and his group followed them to Sicily. There, they discovered the last remaining piece of the dial of Archimedes from a grave. With all 3 pieces, Wahler reassembled the dial and boarded a plane with Jones and his crew, who were revealed to be ex-Nazis or sympathizers wearing vintage SS uniforms. The group has come up with a plan to travel to 1939 and assassinate Hitler. Wahler will use the dial to determine the coordinates of a space-time rift which will be used to reach the past. Teddy, Helena and a pilot then follow in another plane. As they make their way through the rift, Helena chases after them on a motorcycle and manages to board the plane before it sets off. The group hopes that with Hitler out of the way, a better leader will take control of Germany and lead them to victory in the war. They discover an unexpected surprise when they use a time machine. Instead of arriving in 1939 as planned, they find themselves in 212 BC during the siege of Syracuse. With the plane under attack from the soldiers below, Jones and Helena leap out with a parachute to save themselves. but Valor and his crew remain behind and perish in the crash. Jones realizes that they made a mistake in calculating the coordinates and not taking the continental drift into account, leading to this unexpected detour. Jones is seriously injured and he implores Helena to let him stay where he is so he can die and become a part of history. Helena is aware that this could cause major problems if it affects the future, so she begs him to get on the plane with her so they can avoid any further destruction to the past. Jones wakes up in his Manhattan apartment and is greeted by Helena. Salah and Jones' grandchildren, Teddy and Marion, then join them. Helena had knocked Jones out with a roundhouse punch so they could return to 1969 after having a brief conversation with Archimedes, who had ran out of his workshop to investigate a plane crash with an assistant. Marion states that she has decided to return and presumably cancels her plans to divorce Jones. The group of friends left to get ice cream, leaving Ravenwood and Jones alone. The two of them reconciled their differences while remembering a conversation they had about Jones' injuries on a boat during the events of Raiders of the Lost Ark.